The absolute worst kind of black man is the one who expects to pay white people top dollar for what he wants, but when he needs something from black people, he's expecting them to be a charity. And it isn't really the street dudes who are the worst examples of this. It's the so-called conscious Negroes. It's the guys who spend the most time talking about the spirituality of what black folk need to do, who also do the most bumming off other black people. Case in point, today in the Facebook group, Mr. Halipsism posted a comment someone left on YouTube about Sa Neter selling DVDs. One person didn't like the idea of Sa Neter actually selling DVDs at cost and instead said, quote, "I would rather see Sa Neter work at McDonald's and hand out DVDs for free than selling them to our people." Brothers and sisters, this is the dustiest thing you will ever hear a grown black man say. To actually expect that other people are supposed to just give things to a grown man is plain old embarrassing. You can tell the Negroes who were raised by hood rats and welfare hoes. They have no problem getting on a computer that they paid for with internet service that they paid white folk for, but when it's time to pay a black person, they have a million and one excuses for what they shouldn't have to do. But if you owe them money, they want to be paid in full. As most of you know, I don't subscribe to the term conscious. Back in the 1990s when the term was first coined, it actually meant something. But as time has gone on, conscious has been watered down by sycophantic interlopers and ghetto culture carpetbaggers who couldn't make it in the hood, so they hijacked the term. And now anyone wearing a kufi or a natural hairstyle talking about African history wants to label themselves conscious. In other words, the term can mean anything, and once a term can mean anything, then it means nothing. And there's no better illustration of what's wrong with the so-called conscious black male today than this homie hookup mentality. It just shows you how outrageously insincere these guys are. Anyone can talk a good game, but just like most things in life, you find out who's serious when you ask them to put up or shut up. Marcus Garvey once said that poverty was the greatest sin because it's the one that leads to all the others, including fornication. And this is another area where the dusty conscious Negro and his incessant freeloading rears its ugly head again. Earlier this year, I saw someone trying to do some conscious macking on a female on Facebook. On one of her posts, one misguided fellow apparently felt she could benefit from some more enlightenment about African issues, even though she was clearly well versed at it, and he offered her a free download of Tariq Nasheed's Hidden Colors documentaries. Unimpressed, the lady declined his bootlegging offer. Now, this would be especially ironic to someone like Tariq, who's made his living advising men on how to speak to women, because this hopeless loser figured he could steal Tariq's work and earn points with a woman. Now, admittedly, I'm probably the most straight-laced black man you're ever going to meet, and proudly so, but even I know a simp move like this was the most tacky and raggedy maneuver imaginable. And it's guys like this who make worthwhile black women shake their heads and wonder, what's the use? If this world record-breaking lame isn't even able to pay for the gift he wants to give you, then it's lunacy to expect him to pay bills as head of household. When you talk about fixing the problems in black society, that means doing something about it, not just talking about it. And if you aren't willing to put down your dollars to represent what you believe in, then everything else is just talk. But too many black people are addicted to the culture of bumming. They want to bum a cigarette. They want to bum $5. Everywhere they go, they want to bum anything from anyone, as long as they're black. But when they go to a white establishment or an Asian hair shop, all that drops. They have no problem paying whatever the sticker says, no matter how outrageous the price tag. Why is this? Well, there are two reasons for it. First off, non-black people know full well how black people try to haggle and panhandle over the price of an item. And they meet the average black customer with hostility and defensiveness because they're trying to run a business. But the average black shopper is trying to run a hustle. So to shut it down, they make it firmly understood, if you're black, you're a pest. When you walk in the door, they don't want to talk, and they don't want to discuss why you're there. They know when a black person comes into a place of business talking, it's because they have no intention of paying. The second reason low-living Negroes try to bum down other black people over the price is because they don't value what black people do. They see themselves through the same racist eyes that white society does. They've accepted the lie that only things white people do are of value, and so they don't accept anything any other black person does as having value. If a white man and a black man came to repo their car, they would say that the white man did a better job of it. It's paradoxical how someone can claim to take such an interest in black society, and then when it's time to act, they do the exact opposite. But there's a third party who's collaborated with the homies with their hands out crowd, and that is the black merchants themselves. As black business owners, we have failed to speak out. We fail to be firm as the non-black merchants are. We have been so concerned with being socially conscious that we fail to enforce the first law of business. The price is the price. There's no point in putting a dollar value on what you do if you're only going to let someone pressure you into changing it. There's a place in this world for black unity, but you can't have unity with someone who insists on paying non-black people full price but wants to shave off the profits of black people. If a person hasn't paid the full price, then they haven't paid. As Robert Kiyosaki said, a customer who doesn't pay isn't a customer. A customer who doesn't pay is a thief. Another problem is that black businesses often are so desperate to build a clientele that they allow these bummy, dusty elements to be seen around their business too much. And black people who believe in paying without haggling are not going to hurt themselves to do business with someone who keeps hagglers around their business. We spend too much time trying to defend our prices with people who shortchange us, and too little time trying to improve our business to make sure we can justify the prices we charge. So in a lot of cases, we never get the chance to become Macy's and Tiffany's because we're too busy entertaining Pookie and Bushika. The bottom line is that there are black people who are going to live up to their responsibilities to their people, and those who are going to keep trying to get over on everyone. And we can't give them safe haven anymore. It's not enough to just say something online. You have to be proactive. You've got to make sure your business is top-notch. If that means you can't open up for another year, then so be it. But your storefront should look just as good as your white competitors do. Your website or service should have customer service better than your non-black competitors because you are serving a special clientele, your people. When you have satisfied these requirements, you've lived up to your end of the bargain. At that point, you have one more obligation. You do not argue over the price of your goods. If Nike doesn't have to justify their mind-bogglingly inflated prices, then there's no sane reason that you should. They can buy or they can leave, but they can't beg. And since you know that this is a particular problem among our people, you need to be more firm in your business practices with black people than even the Asians or whites are. You need to state the price clearly and plainly, and if anyone wants to dispute it, you should immediately ask them to leave or else. If they're on the internet giving your items away, you should immediately contact the website and have their account shut down. There are a precious few black people who are building, and the ones who aren't have made it their life trying to leech off those who are, and we don't have a dime to lose. If you aren't fighting to support your people, then you're fighting to support the enemy. As a final observation, I noticed that someone in the same group Hollipsism posted the original Deadbeats comments in had put up a link on YouTube where someone has uploaded the entire documentary 500 years later. This is precisely the kind of thing that's killing us. So clearly, someone isn't taking this to heart. So I'm going to do my part to make sure the cheapskates are put on notice that Sambo isn't welcome here anymore. When you're happily arming our enemies and disarming our people, you are guilty of economic treason. We need to stop saying these bloodsuckers are looking for the homie hookup. It's not a homie hookup. It's a hater hookup.